Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Adventures of a Real Estate Investor. I'm Susie.
And I'm Michael, and we're excited you joined us for this adventure.
So today's very, very special guest is Keishia Kennedy. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, so excited to be here and thank you for having me on your podcast.
Yeah, no, and we are super excited as well for a couple of reasons. One, you are also across a sea. I'm not going to say which one so that we don't give it away for any of the listeners, but it's cool to be able to have like other people who are investing long distance. And I'm just really happy that you and I had like a mutual connection that put us together again for long distance investing, because there's not very many of us out there. So it's super cool to especially meet other women in the space. So again, thank you so much for being here. It's going to be a great, great time with you.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Keishia, would you mind sharing with the Adventurous family a little bit about your background and why you started investing in real estate?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Keishia Kennedy. I come from a military family. So my father was in the military for 23 years. And I ended up joining the military as well. But I was born in Germany. I lived in Kentucky, California, Colorado, Virginia, went back to Germany, graduated high school. And so my father's last duty assignment was in Richmond, Virginia. So he taught at Virginia Commonwealth University and University of Richmond, ROTC. So I attended VCU and I joined the military right after 9/11. I joined the 21st of September, 2001.
Wow.
And yes. And I ended up deploying to Kuwait for 1 year in 2005 to 2006 and went back to VCU, graduated, and I ended up overseas as a military contractor. And the reason being was because it's tax-free. All your accommodations are paid for. And so why not, right? I didn't have a family and I wanted to make some tax-free money after college. And so in 2011, that's when I invested in my first rental property. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't come from, no one sat me down and said, Keishia, you need to start investing in assets. I was self-taught. Yes, my family did have some property. So my great-grandfather was a landlord and owned property. My grandmother owned property. My father inherited property from his mother. And then he also brought a second home as well to generate some passive income. But again, no one sat me down. So I had a chunk of change. The market had crashed in 2011. And I bought my first house for $29,500 in Richmond, Virginia area. It was less than a year old. So all I had to do was just go in and repair the flooring. And I was in Kuwait at the time, but my parents went to view the property and said, yeah, it's a good deal. You get the lot next door. I mean, for $29,500, that was a no-brainer, right? 3-bedroom, no bath. Yeah, all I had to do was the flooring. So I purchased that. And then next year I did the same, got another foreclosure, own home. And I just continued the cycle. And so last year in 2021, I was like, hey, I want to scale. I want to get more cash flow. I am going to buy an apartment. So this time, instead of being self-taught, I said, I'm going to start reading blogs and reading books and listen to podcasts. And that's when I came across the word apartment syndication. I was like, whoa, I don't have to do this alone anymore. This is so cool. And I became addicted. So that's all I thought about was apartment syndication all day long. And I just wanted to learn so much, so fast. And I end up, getting around like-minded people, getting in networks and masterminds and finding a coach. And so, man, in May of last year, I invested as a limited partner passively in Richmond, Virginia, where I was from. That was a no-brainer, right? All I had to do was just learn the terms. Because commercial is totally different from residential. It's like a second language, as I put it, right? So many acronyms. And so I just had to learn the terms and understand the metrics when you are evaluating commercial asset. So I did, and I ended up investing in that deal, 27 units. And then after that, I invested in 81 units in Florence, Kentucky in May. And in July, I invested in 2 student housing. So one in Scranton, Pennsylvania, 19 units. The other in Columbia, South Carolina, 24 units. And then I was offered the opportunity to be a general partner in my first deal in Waco, Texas, 56 units in the month of October. And we just closed 3 weeks ago. So proud of that.
Nice.
And now I'm a GP on another deal, 120 units in Des Moines, Iowa, and we close in 3 weeks.
Yay!
Our journey, yes. And so I would also like to add that I met Susie because we're in the same network, in the same mastermind. And then prior to that, I also reached out to her because I knew that she was investing from abroad and she was a woman. And of course, I had to get to know her. And then you, of course, was also in the military, her husband. And so just really excited to see Americans living abroad and investing in real estate. I absolutely love it.
Thank you for all of that. And your journey has just been like absolutely phenomenal. But one question I want to ask, just because now I'm curious, like, were you initially nervous to invest from overseas, or like, how was it? Like, even though your parents looked at it, that like single family home and everything, like, how did you still decide to do it?
Yeah, that's a very good question because a lot of people expect you to invest in your backyard, like they say. Why would you invest from abroad? And guess what? You have to take risks, right? You have to take risk and believe that what you are doing is the right thing to do. And that's what I did. My mother was there. And also, I would like to add, I'm still managing my properties, my rental properties myself from afar, from the website, taking those payments. And I have a handyman in place and he does the turnovers, the renovations. And then my parents, also step in if need be. But for the most part, he runs the show. And the reason why I did invest from being abroad was I wanted to make my money work for me. So I knew that investing in an asset, no matter what state it's in, I'm going to receive that passive income. And that's what I did. I took a risk, and that has been the best risk ever.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a really good point. Do you do something after? Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question. You said when you invested in like single family first and then moving to commercial, you said it was like a completely different language. Would you say it was any different if you were to start straight into commercial versus would that be any different if you just jumped straight into real estate investing in the commercial aspect? Or do you think having single family beforehand helped you a little bit as well?
Yeah, that's a good question, Michael. That definitely makes sense. So if I had to do it all over, I would honestly go straight to multifamily commercial. And the reason being is because of cash flow. If you have 3 homes versus 3 20 unit buildings, if those 3 homes are vacant, you're not receiving any cash flow. Whereas if you have 3 units out of those 20 units, you still receive cash flow, right? It's easier to leverage. When you have other general partners, you can leverage their experience. And so it's easier to maintain it as well.
Yeah.
You have 3 20 unit buildings, you have 3 roofs, right? Versus all those different homes, 50 homes.
Yes.
So if I had to do it all over again, I would go straight to multifamily commercial. Yes, my experience did help me as far as like asset management. But again, you can start directly into multifamily commercial using your general partner or someone's experience. You're going to leverage them. That's what I'm doing now. And that's how I got into the deals, because I had no experience whatsoever in multifamily commercial. And it's all about teamwork and building that team.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you, Keishia. So yeah, just to reiterate to like our listeners out there, like Susie and I jumped straight into multifamily, commercial multifamily, like from the get-go. We thought about going single family first to get like the experience, but everybody was, we talked to some other multifamily operators who are like, just go straight into multifamily. Don't even bother, because single family, you're going to do it and you're going to learn about single family, and that's it. You don't learn anything about multifamily operations, and it's completely different. As you mentioned, it's a completely different language and everything like that. You had to like reteach yourself everything, and you have to get the mentor and everything like that. That's huge as well for our listeners out there. Find a mentor, find some kind of coaching program, or, latch on to somebody who is an operator that you completely agree with and with their values and stuff like that. And like most operators out there, like most large multifamily operators will share and help you along the way, as long as you add value back to them. And so that's really cool that you said that as well. What I'm saying out there, if you're listening out there and you're like, I want to get started, but I want to start with single family because it seems safer, and you ultimately want to get to multifamily, just go straight to multifamily. Don't even bother with single family. So yeah.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you.
I am curious, do you still have any of your single family?
Yes, I still have it and I manage it from here. So all my payments are taken online and I still manage it. My handyman still runs it and it's been successful. I don't have any mortgages except for one. I owe 40 some thousand. That's the only bill or debt that I have to my name. Other than that, I'm going to still hold on to it.
That's crazy. Hey, I'm sure that $29,000 home, 29.5, I think it was, you said, which for the first one.
Yeah.
And we came with a lot, you said. Did you ever do anything
It
with
came
that?
with a lot.
Did you do anything?
No, I haven't, honestly. I can build a house or a two-story duplex on there, but I haven't. That's a good question, Michael.
You should do it. Just sit there.
Yes, and especially since there's a house shortage, so I might as well. I've been contemplating doing it and I've been pushing it off, but I haven't just yet. But that's a good question.
So when you like moved into commercial, even as passive, like I know that you said that your first like passive investment was still in Virginia, but then how did you decide to move outside of that area for passive investments? Because like even some people could use the excuse, oh, well, she knew the area and that's how she was comfortable, but like, I don't know if I want to invest in my area. So how did you move past that? Because that's another barrier that a lot of people have difficulty moving past.
Yeah, and it all goes back to trusting your syndicator, trusting the sponsor, and also doing your due diligence as well on the market, the population growth, the job growth. Is it an emergent market? And also looking at the underwriting from the general partner and checking their reputation and just doing a lot of research in your due diligence. And so that's what I did because, again, now I'm in Kentucky, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Iowa, Texas. And as long as the deal makes sense and as long as I have a reputation with the sponsor and comfortable and trusting them, because investing passively as a limited partner is totally different than just buying a home yourself because you're trusting that general partner. You're trusting that they are making the best decision with your capital and they've done extensive and conservative underwriting. And you want to make sure that you track all of that, track how many times they've been in full cycle in a syndication. Look at the mistakes that they made on those previous deals. And if they say, hey, I didn't make any mistakes or I haven't, no lessons learned, then guess what? That general partner is someone that you do not want to do business with because we're human. We all make mistakes. And so that's what I did. I did all of that and was like, okay, I want to invest in this deal. The numbers make sense. I trust the general partner. I looked at the underwriting and I have all my answers. I have all my questions answered. So that's how I was able to start investing in other states.
I love it. How did you find those syndicators?
Yeah. So earlier I had mentioned I had gotten different network groups.
Yeah.
And so that's how I built that trust and that relationship over time. And that's how I was able to invest in their deal.
Cool. Just a quick question. So it sounds like say you find a syndicator you're interested in investing with, you get on the phone with them, you ask them,
or Zoom,
get on the phone, or you get on Zoom, some kind of video teleconferencing, right? Probably not meeting them for coffee or something like that, unless you're back in the States. But let's say you said one thing you look for is, or asked them about is like their current deals, right? Like how they're going, or if they've had deals that they've taken full cycle, like how they went and the returns and stuff like that. So that's one thing you asked about. You also asked about what mistakes have they made and how they've overcome those. Because I'll tell you right now, we've all run into issues or problems, and it's like how you handle them and how you respond to them is what really sets apart the operators from the good operators and the not so good operators, right? What are some other questions you might ask an operator?
Yeah. So how long is the holding period? Because that's important, right? And typically a holding period can range from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, even up to 8 years. I've seen that. So that's important to me so I can know when can I receive my capital back? Are you going to do a refinance? If you do a refinance, how much of my capital back am I going to receive? What are your different exit strategies? How will I get updated as an investor? Do you have an investor portal? What is the minimum investment? What is the maximum? Those are the questions. And of course, the reputation and how many times they've been through full cycle. And if I can trust them, because this is a long-term relationship. This is not a 1 year, a 6-month investment. No. You are in it for the long run. You are in it to win it. So I want to know, can I trust this person? It's just like a marriage because we are investing in an asset together. And if I cannot trust this person, I do not want to do business with them. So that's why I was able to build those relationships over time and decide which sponsors I want to invest with, what team is the right fit for me. Does my morals and values align with their morals and values? Because if not, then I'm not going to invest in on their deal.
Yeah.
Now, and something that I've kind of noticed with a big difference with investing in just like almost the real world, like it's really difficult for people to talk about like their mistakes they've made or weaknesses or whatever. Cause like in a traditional 9 to 5, right? If you do something that's incorrect, like you don't really want to admit that to your boss because there's like, you could get in trouble. You could potentially get fired. If you make a mistake, like with a friendship or in your relationship, like you worry about that repercussion, like what will happen after that. But like in the investing world, what I think is really cool is that we can talk about like the mistakes that were made because you then talk about the growth and like what you learned from it. And so that conversation is no longer awkward to have. And I think that's a cool, like something that I've even brought out of investing like into the real world. It's okay, wait, like I made this mistake, but here's what I learned from it. Cause like a lot of people are not talking about that afterwards. Like, here's what I learned from it. So it's like never awkward to ask an operator, hey, what is something you could learn from? It's never awkward to ask another investor, what was your experience? Did anything bad happen? What was the good that happened? It's really refreshing to be able to talk about all of it because then it also becomes normalized, like talking about faults and talking about mistakes and like how we can become better people and better operators, like all around. Cause you can take these moments and not just apply them in investing, like your investing world. You can apply it like into your personal life and even into like your professional and business life. And so that's something that I love. And I don't think it's talked about enough is that like, no, it's not awkward. It's actually really cool and it's refreshing because even from ourselves, right? Like we can teach people from it. Be like, if you heard someone like, hey, I have this happening, I don't know what to do. You can be like, oh, I talked about that with someone. Here, I can help you a little bit. And it's like even cool just to be able to offer that, even though it never like ever happened to you. And that's like the biggest part about this all is that we're all wanting to continue to grow. And like through passive investing, you can even do that yourself. Like you grow yourself, you can help the operator grow. Because even when you ask somebody that question, you're giving them the opportunity to build courage to say it again, you know? And I just love all of that. Like it's like the power of passive investing is huge, even from that level, being able to like help somebody else express themselves in an investment. I just love it. I just love it all.
I totally agree. And I noticed that in the multifamily commercial space, people are willing to share their knowledge. They're willing to help you. They're willing to help you to get on a general partner team. And it's just so different compared to residential. And so I love this multifamily commercial space more than residential for sure.
Yeah. And even as a passive investor, right? Because we understand like how important even 15, 35, 50, $100,000 can be. Like, we don't want anyone else out there to lose that money, right? Because like we would be super sad if we lost that amount of capital and we don't want anybody else to lose it too. So even like you said, like just sharing your knowledge, so many people want to do it because everybody wants to see everyone succeed. This isn't an opportunity where it's like, oh, I'm going to go tell someone to invest with that bad operator because XYZ. No, it's like, hey, this is how we're all going to help everybody like build wealth, whatever wealth means to you, and just like have that lifestyle that you truly want. Like that in itself is just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the three reasons why I really love the multifamily commercial space is that one, we can create a partnership, like I mentioned earlier, so we can, bring a pool of money together and invest in an asset that we wouldn't be able to invest ourselves. So that's the first one. And the second one is we're impacting the community through our value add strategy. And what is value add? So we're going in and we're making renovations to the bathroom, the kitchen, or adding a park, a dog park, or even a park for the children, right? So we are impacting the community because a lot of these people cannot afford to purchase a home. So that apartment is their home. So we're impacting the community. So that's the second reason. And the third reason is one of my favorites is education, teaching people about financial literacy. So I'm using my social media platform to do so, to impact and, inspire others to start investing. passively or actively, even if it's not multifamily commercial, just start investing. So those are my three main missions. And I just love it. I also had a fitness business prior to this called Kennedy Remedy Fitness. And I really enjoy helping people. And prior to that, I had a bail bondsman business, breaking the chains bail bonds. So I am in the service industry, and multifamily is just, man, because you get to build that generational wealth and financial freedom. So I love helping other people, getting on phone calls, investor relations, and networking as well.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. One thing I want to ask about, Keishia, was, so you did single family active. You're an active investor there. And then you transitioned as you're learning more about multifamily syndications. You started passively investing in them. And now you've transitioned now to the active side of multifamily syndications. A lot of listeners out there, there's a lot of times people want to start investing in real estate and they're like, passive investments in syndications is really simple, right? I mean, other than you doing your due diligence on the operator and stuff like that, as we just talked about, and then investing, and then you just kind of hang out while you get your mailbox money, if you want to call it that, or your ACH transfers into your bank account. And that's all you do the entire time, right? A lot of people are like, oh, well, I want to get active. I want to be active. I want to be active. Can you explain to the audience, like, how much work it can be to be active? Because it's not as passive as people think, like, especially syndications. Like, it takes 3-4 months to close on these assets, and you're busy the entire time throughout the entire closing process. And then you're asset managing after that, which is not passive. It's very active asset managing. At least when so Susie and I are like, well, Susie's full time now. We asset manage, and it takes daily interactions with the property management company. Can you explain, like, first of all, why did you want to go from passive to active? And then why some people should just stay passive because of how busy or how much work it actually can be to be active?
Yes, that's a very good question, Michael. So if you do not want to manage an asset, I highly suggest investing passively as a limited partner, where you're still reaping the benefits, the tax benefits, getting the net sale proceeds, and receiving that cash flow distribution quarterly. Then invest passively. I know when I invested in May, I received my first distribution in November, and I honestly totally forgot I even invested in that first deal. And it was just nice to see a deposit, an email notification, hey, you received your first distribution. So man, if you are a busy individual or you're running your own business and you just don't have the time to manage or be active, then definitely invest as a limited partner. So initially, I wanted to be a general partner on my first deal, but I realized I need to understand the perspective of being a limited partner if I'm going to be a general partner. And so that's why I decided to invest in a deal as a limited partner. And that was one of the best decisions that I made, because now I can understand what a limited partner is, the role of a limited partner, which is just deploying the capital. That's the role of it. And then I can also understand how different operators communicate and what I do want to do and what I don't like to do. Just from my experience of being a limited partner, I can see the way that this operator operates and communicates with his investors. You know, this operator over here might not get on a webinar sometimes, or might not even send as many emails as they had mentioned in the beginning when I invested. Mm-hmm. So it's a good learning experience while I am a limited partner. So that's the reason why I wanted to invest passively, to understand the perspective of a limited partner. Because how can I be a general partner in helping on a deal or trying to raise capital, and if I haven't even experienced it myself? So that's the first reason. And so the second reason why I wanted to transition into being a general partner was because I wanted to also be active in the deal. So just like Michael mentioned, it is not as easy as people think it is. So general partners, they find the deal, they underwrite the deal conservatively, of course. They do the due diligence, boots on the ground, working with the broker, doing their research on the market, the local market where the asset is located, building a team together to do the other roles as well. And just like he said, you're busy from start to you sell the property.
Yeah, I like that.
7 years.
So, yeah. Yes. So when we just closed 3 weeks ago in Waco, Texas, that's when I realized, man, the real work starts now. So we had our first general partner meeting last week. And so going forward, we're having a meeting every week now for the first, I think, 1 or 2 months since we've closed. And I'm like, man, this is a lot of work. They started listing all the different roles for the asset management, all the different tasks. And I'm like, whoa, yes, the real work starts now. So if you don't have the time to be an active investor, I highly recommend being a passive investor, still getting those benefits. You will not regret it. So now I'm both a limited partner and a GP in both of the last 2 deals.
That's great.
Yeah. And thanks for explaining that, just because as Michael mentioned, like it is a lot. It is legitimately a second job. So if you're trying to get more time freedom from your first job, do not go active into apartment investing
No.
in general. Yeah. Because you have a second job.
Yes, you do. You do. I mean, I am constantly on the phone with investors, doing investor relations and talking about capital. And then, of course, now the asset management, it takes a lot of work. And, Michael and Susie, they're overseas and I'm overseas and we have a big time difference. But guess what? We still make it work. We still make it work because all 3 of us have goals. And so if we can do it from afar in another country, then you can too. So it's all about how much work you want to put in. How bad do you want it? I love that. How bad do you want it? What are you willing to sacrifice to get to your generational wealth, financial freedom? Because all 3 of us are doing it, right? We are GPs on some deals. So what is your excuse?
Absolutely.
No, yeah, it is that. Thanks for that. And that's even a great place to go into our 4 questions. I just love how you ended it with what is your excuse? I was like, that got me thinking,
Yes, because people tend to make so many excuses. There's not enough time in the day, or I can't find a deal, and I'm just like, you're talking to the wrong person. I'm sorry, because I'm overseas and I'm doing it. Susie and Michael is overseas. So again, how bad do you want it? There are 24 hours in the day, and I account for all 24 hours in a day. I do a time audit. And that's what I did at the beginning, because in the beginning, I was just trying to wear all different types of hats, going from residential, doing everything yourself, to multifamily commercial. It's totally different. And I was getting burnt out. And so I had to find my role, and that's what I'm doing. So I always do a time audit to make sure that I'm using my time wisely and not doing useless things with my time. And that has helped me to be successful and manage my time wisely. So again, how bad do you want it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah. There's so many things I want to say about that, but I feel like we could talk on that for the next 10 minutes. But yeah, time audits.
Right. Absolutely.
Time audits are huge. If you think you don't have enough time in the day, trust me, we know, Keishia and Susie and I all know people who have 5 kids and are doing this as well and working a full-time job. So there's plenty of time. People have time. It just how you prioritize what you're doing in order to achieve the goals you want to achieve, right? Hey, turn off that Netflix show for 1 episode. That's 30 minutes, right? 30 minutes, you can do so much.
Yeah. Because even compounding everything is what it'll do. Michael and I used Toggle as our time audit, app. We tried, I think we did it for a week.
Yeah, we do a week.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah, it's crazy. Even when you see how long you're taking to eat 4 snacks in a day, it's like, whoa, what is going on? 5-minute snack turns into a 20-minute snack, but 4 20-minute snacks is over an hour. And again, it's wow. That's a lot. It's crazy.
Yes.
And it's not to make you feel guilty or anything. It just makes you aware of how long you're taking to do things or how distracted you get when you move from one task to another.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree. Yes. I don't even watch TV. I'm I have a goal, and until I reach that goal, then I will start doing the things that other people are doing, Netflix and chilling. But right now, Netflix is not helping me reach my goal.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. Susie and I don't even own a TV. So yeah. Because if it's there, then it's sit down and turn it on. So just get rid of it. But yeah,
I love it.
Tracking your time, one last thing I want to say about that, it makes you very aware of how precious your time is during the day, right? And when you start tracking something and you're I'm doing this task, I feel like I'm more focused on that one task when I'm actually tracking it, which is crazy because
Exactly.
otherwise, if you're not tracking it, then you're just kind of like, oh, I'll just do it until I don't feel like doing it anymore. And then whenever,
And that's when
like,
you get distracted.
and then you get distracted and you get looking on other things. You start getting on Google and searching random things. But yeah, anyway, tracking your time.
I'd like to add one more thing,
Yeah.
one more thing about this. Yeah, notifications. What I found helpful also is shutting off my notifications. Of course, we use LinkedIn and we use Facebook and things like that. I have shut those notifications off, and man, it's a different world. It's like the phone doesn't even ring. And so I also use that time, one time out the day in the morning to check my messages, one time out the day in the evening to check my messages. Or sometimes I don't even check messages. I might go a day or two without checking messages because I want to use my time wisely and account for every second of the day because, man, like I said earlier, we already have a big time difference. So we have to make every minute count.
Could agree more. I love this chat, this little, offshoot about time management. If you're not managing your time, please start doing it now. It's going to change your life. But Keishia, let's move into the Adventurous 4. These are the 4 exploratory questions we ask all of our guests. So the first question we have for you is, ooh, get excited. Where is one place you wish to travel to and why?
Yes. So I travel a lot living in another country in Kuwait, but one place that I have not been to that I am really excited to go to is Fiji. I am a certified diver, so I look forward to diving there. I've dived in Thailand at Phi Island, in Kenya, in Puerto Rico, in Kuwait, and in Dubai, in the new world's largest pool, yes, in Dubai. And I also dived with the sharks. So now I want to dive in both Fiji and the Maldives, but I would love to go to Fiji just so I can relax and just dive and be all in the water.
I love it.
I do too. We love diving. I totally get it.
We're going to have to chat again after this, but Susie and I are like really big divers as well. So maybe we'll have to plan a trip together. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Let's do it.
So then the second question is, what is the number one thing on your bucket list and how are you leveraging real estate investing to achieve it?
Yeah. So again, I love to travel. So one of my big goals is to take 1 year, 365 days, and just take my time going from country to country. Because, when you take a vacation, you're limited. You have 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 4 weeks. But I want to be able to travel to each country and just take my time going from country to country. And it's cheaper that way, right? If I want to go to Africa and go to South Africa and then go to Tanzania, and it's a lot cheaper versus going to Tanzania, coming back to Kuwait, going to South Africa. So my goal is to be able to travel 365 days, and I am using real estate, investing passively to do so. And that's how I was able to travel to all these other countries previously and take my family because of those investments that I made in those single family homes and the duplexes 10 years ago. So I can only imagine what I can do for multifamily commercial.
Yeah.
No, I love
10
that.
years from now.
Yeah. And I love that you added that because that really is the power, like starting sooner rather than later, because although at the beginning you might not see like what it can do, but even like you just said, like 10 years later, it's exploded. And that's the best part. Yes, there may have been like some down parts of it, but like what it has done is 10 times greater than anything else. And so thank you for that.
Absolutely.
The third question is, what is one piece of advice for someone who wants to start passively investing in real estate?
Yes, that is a good question. I love Warren Buffett and I love quotes. And so one of my favorite quotes from Warren Buffett is investing is laying out money now to get money back in the future. So that goes back to when I started investing 10 years ago. I'm still getting money back now from when I invested 10 years ago. And then also remember that 90% of the world's millionaires were created by investing in real estate. So start today. I do have a beginner's guide to investing as a limited partner. And you can download that at my website, www.Kennedy Remedy Investments. Kennedy, like the president, Remedy, REMEDY, investments with an S.com/guide. I'm sure Michael and Susie will put it in the notes. So start today rather than later.
No, yeah. And we'll definitely put that in the show notes. And trust me, you will want to check that out. So please, please, please go and download that. But then our fourth and final question
Yeah.
is, if you had unlimited resources available to you, how would you leave an impact?
Yeah. So I'm all about education and financial literacy, especially with minorities. We don't see too many of us in the commercial space. So I would love to create some type of resource to, give back to the community, impacting everyone all across the world, traveling, giving out free classes, master classes, mastermind, just to educate as many people as possible. I would love to do that and leave a legacy behind one day.
I love that.
I do
love that.
too.
That's really cool. Yeah. So Keishia, before we wrap everything up here, could you share with our Adventurous family how they can learn more about you and how they can contact you, reach out to you?
Yeah, so I do have a website, www, of course, Kennedy Remedy Investments with an S.com. Also, I am on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. Should have used it a long time ago and leveraged it back in the day. But my name is Keishia Kennedy, Keishia, Kennedy, like the president. And then I'm also on Facebook. And we do have a Facebook business page, Kennedy Remedy Investments. I'm also on Instagram. I'm all over, y'all.
Yeah.
Instagram, Kennedy Remedy. I also have a TikTok. I also have a Twitter and a Snapchat as well. But they will put all that in the show notes. But the best way to reach me is on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. And if you reach out to Keishia on LinkedIn and you want to connect with her, drop her a note and say, hey, I heard you on the Adventures of a Real Estate Investor podcast. And she'll be sure to accept your connection.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been a pleasure. We are always so happy to meet people who are investing from a different country, but then like just being so excited about it, right? That's like the best part, is that when you meet somebody who is just as excited as you are about investing. So just thank you for sharing that enthusiasm, because like it brings joy to us, and I know it brings joy to other people, and it definitely gives like them even more confidence to be able to make that first step. So thank you again for being here and joining us today.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. And Michael, thank you for your service to this country.
Well, thank you so much, Keishia. Thank you for your service as well. I appreciate the support. So
yes, thank you.
Until next time, explore more, adventure awaits.
Woo!